So I was asked a question about how to import models into Google Earth, and this is going to show you how to do that. So I'm at New Haven, Connecticut, my hometown. It's where my office is. And I'm going to come over and just kind of find an empty site. This works really well. If you have an empty site, if there's a building there already, you kind of can't get rid of that in SketchUp without doing other things where you kind of rip the model out into Blender and bring it into Rhino or Revit. In this case, I'm really just going to export a model from Revit and I'm going to pass it through SketchUp and then I'm going to drop it right into Google Earth because I have a blank site. And the site I picked is right next to Louis Lunch on Crown Street in New Haven. There's a big parking lot. And I'm going to do a real Snidely whiplash maneuver here, build a big office building right next to our sacred Lewis's Lunch. So what I'll first do is I'll come out here and reset my tilt and compass, and I'll get a big screen, big image on screen, and then I'll export it so I have something to reference in Revit. And then I'll take that image and I'll just dump it in and scale it. There's a little scale bar at the corner, so I can scale that and use it as an underlay. And I've placed if you see these little blue dots here, that's the origin of the Revit file. So I've placed it roughly the image, the corner of the site that I want to use at this. And this is, of course, a true north view. New Haven's grid is about roughly 29 degrees off of true north. So this is kind of looks crooked. You go to Project North, in Revit, you can adjust for that and make it orthogonal so you can draw the building orthogonally. But right now I'm concerned with geolocating the project. So I've got this property boundary, and within that boundary, this big white block is actually this. It's a massing of a lobby and 11 stories of building, blue office building above it. And it's a pretty simple process. I'm going to come up to File, Export, CAD Formats, and go to DWG. And I'm going to hit these little three dots, and I just have to do a couple things. I'm going to go to Solids and click on ACIS Solids. And I'm going to go to Units and click Shared Coordinates. And I'll click OK. I'm going to click Next. And then I'm going to export, overwrite a file I already did before. I'm going to say OK, export it as a DWG. And then once that's done, I'm going to open SketchUp. So I actually started with a new file, and I'm using the same inches unit in my Revit file. I'm going to click File, Import my DWG, and click Import. And it's pretty fast. You can see the file is the building is slightly off on an angle because that's actually its true north orientation, which is important when you're geolocating. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually geolocate the SketchUp file. And if you don't see this little symbol here, you can right click and click Add Location. You want to bring up the toolbar. I can't dock mine right now. I don't know why in this new version of SketchUp. But if you click Add Location, it sort of gets me in the general vicinity of New Haven. I don't know why, maybe because I'm here right now and it knows it. But you'll see it's put the building and it crosshairs. It's kind of landed across town. But if I drag the crosshairs, it's dragging the building with it. Kind of bring it over to where I want it. And if you can also plug in an address here. But I'm going to just do this. And it takes a little bit of trial and error because for some reason, even though I started out with an image from Google Earth that I brought into Revit and then I got that 29-degree angle. The angle is actually slightly different. And I don't know why sometimes that happens, but this is, it's a rough order of magnitude tool. So that doesn't have the kind of extreme point of precision that you would have in Rhino, AutoCAD, or Revit. So when you pass it through so many pieces of software. So you may have to go back and tune that up a little bit. But I have it roughly where I want to put it. So I'll click it here and say continue. I don't really want a 3D mesh. It's fun to look at if you have a lot of topography, but I don't need it in this case. It's flat. I'll say 2D plane and I'll bring in an image just so I have something to look at and reference. Make it a little bit bigger. Import site context. And then I close this tool and you can see it's sort of got this little surrogate piece of map, and my building is right there, and it looks a little different from the colors I had in Revit. There are ways of changing the appearance of the model to make it go into Google Earth and look a certain way. But I'm going to just do this quickly and show you how it works. So I'll now say File, uh, Export, 3D Model, and there's this format called KMZ, which it defaults to automatically. And I'm just going to name it Revit to SketchUp to Google Earth and say, and it's really, really quick. So, and these are very, very light models. So if I pull this guy, pull back up Google Earth, and I grab my KMZ, which I can see is it's only 177K, so it's super duper tiny. So I'll grab that, just drag it and drop it. And you can see it drops it right into Google Earth, which is pretty neat. And it drops into a temporary place category, but you can kind of grab this guy and drag him up to, if you have a folder that you want to save these things in, you want to turn them on and off and experiment. Looks like it actually took in part of that little map piece that I did. So maybe you don't even want to bring in that image or use that image or put it on a layer that you can turn off before you export. But I find this tool very valuable, pretty cool, and it's fun to look at buildings in their actual context. Thank you for listening.